Welcome back to another episode of the Hobby Chop Podcast, the podcast for the people. If you have questions you want answered or ideas for episode topics, drop a comment in the Facebook group or message any of us on Instagram. Ask your question. Your idea just may be our next episode. Welcome. How is everyone doing? You got me today. You got three of us, all three of us again tonight. You got me, Big Ken. We got Tyler and Zip. Fellas, how we doing?
What's up? What's up? How's it going?
Doing well. Doing well.
We're fresh off the WNBA draft, and I know you guys were excited for this. I know you guys rushed home last night and had it taped to watch. Oh, that was me.
I forgot it was on. Clicked up ESPN.com at one point and saw Beckers went number 1 overall.
I couldn't believe that. Could you?
No, just very surprised when I saw it.
I don't know if you've watched any of the not watched, but looked at any of the social media stuff today where people felt that that Dominique Malanga from France should have gone first, and there's like people fighting back and forth. If you go in like the WNBA group and stuff, people are arguing back and forth, and I think a lot of it is like there was a couple European girls that came over in the draft, and we've never watched them play, right?
I just hold up. People fighting in the WNBA group? No way. The most level-headed hobby group that's ever been constructed. They were no. For anyone who doesn't know,
are you a scammer?
For anyone who doesn't know, please just message one of us. We'll invite you to the WNBA group. It's an absolute circus in there. It is unbelievable, and there's like less than 5,000 members, like way less, right? And it's just like it's out there, man. It is. It's crazy. Yeah,
you can't handle that group.
I can't.
Yeah. So is this a girl from France? This is the female Wimby. That's what I'm reading.
Yeah. She did play on the. She played on the Olympic team. She got a silver medal, but she was a bench player. But she still played. She still played during the Olympics. She still got time on the court and played. And solid player. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I know everything about her. I just knew that she was, for someone like me who does a ton of prospecting, right? So when I see these names come up of potential number ones or number twos, I want to know right away, do they have cards? Where can I find their cards and things like that? So, that's how I start to deep dive on certain players. But I think the draft went, basically exactly how most people thought the draft was going to go. I felt the Haley Van Lith going late. I thought she was going to go much earlier than she did. But again, here's the one thing, and you guys, we're going to talk a little bit about the NBA stuff, which I don't really pay attention to. But even the other night, Tyler, when we were talking, and I was talking about Sarah Strong, and you had said, well, this is her position, and that position doesn't get a lot of love, right? And I don't remember exactly what you said on that, and I'll let you say it, but I think that has a lot to do with some of the players coming in too, depending on what their position is depending on how popular they are.
Yeah, it's just typically if you look at the history of any basketball cards in general, scoring forwards and guards carry all of the popularity and hype, right? It's very rarely do you get any hype around big players, right? Centers typically, or Shaq would have a bigger market than he typically does today, right? Also, if you look back, guys like Tim Duncan do not. That was the example that I used. If you were to set an NBA all-time starting five, Tim Duncan is in that 5, and he doesn't. I mean, you can buy his cards cheaper than some random rookie this year. Probably it's wild. So that's just one of the things that big men typically have struggled in the market from a basketball perspective. So I'm just not sure like what she can do to get hype. And I think the example that I used for the WNBA was Asia Wilson, right? Best player in the league, multi-time MVP, not drafted that long ago. So she's new. She's not an older player. So as the women's league has gotten hype and, gained popularity, she should be at the peak of that. And, she doesn't really get any of that. Same thing goes with Breanna Stewart. It's talking about if you just want to use a UConn to UConn comparison, right? She doesn't get the hype that you think that somebody like her would get in that scenario. But so I just tend to fall towards wing players and guards.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Strong's listed as a forward, and she has range. And like to what you're saying too, like Audie Crooks is listed as a center. So like I don't know if that plays into it. I also don't know if like UConn is kind of. I know you said Breanna Stewart, but I feel like the card market's like totally different, and the interest level I feel like on that is a little.
That's
different.
why I said Asia Wilson. I think is the better comparison than Breanna Stewart. I brought up Breanna Stewart because of the UConn piece.
I almost feel like it's like BC or maybe BCC before Caitlin Clark. Like I feel like I feel like you really have to look at that. Call me crazy. I feel like that line really changes a lot of stuff, and it's so like recent that it's kind of hard to like really give it any like. It's a feeling, right? I could be totally wrong, but I feel like a lot of people just are going to look at it completely different now than then.
Yeah,
could be totally wrong though.
Yeah, I don't know. I struggle with it. I guess I'll go out on an early limb, and I'm going to say
you're not the only one who struggles with it. By the way, I think a lot of people are still not like into the women's sports cards, like as a whole.
I'm just going to go out on a limb, and I will make a prediction that Paige Beckers has a very limited market at the WNBA level.
And one thing before we move on, and one question I want to ask, and this is something I've just been thinking about the last few days, is if she doesn't play for UConn and she doesn't play for Gino Ariemo, is she as successful right now just on talent alone? And did that coach and the supporting cast on that team, make her look better than maybe she was?
I think it's a twofold for her because one, there were many times where I know this, Ken, like she didn't have to play entire games. She had to play like a half at sometimes, which maybe hurt her statistically. Like, because if she was on maybe a lesser team, like she was the central focus of only like her as the talent, like her numbers could have been inflated. But in the same respect, I don't know if she could have withstood an entire season playing like all those minutes. So like that's, if she stayed healthy, maybe, but I also think like she'd have to be at another like legitimate program too. So I don't know. I think that's kind of nuanced. That question.
I think it may have helped Gino doing that with her for his future recruiting. To say, hey, look, I'm developing number 1 picks now in the WNBA. Come play for UConn. Like that type of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess when I think about it from just watching basketball, I think will probably go down as a disappointment as the number 1 overall pick.
I agree. Yeah, Tyler, don't get this twisted from what you were saying earlier. I was really talking about Sarah Strong. In fact, Ken and I have said this, and like it may be a little sacrilege in Connecticut right now, but like I think me and Ken are both on if you look at the Final Four in the finals, Paige Beckers had the 3rd best numbers in both games on the team.
Yeah.
But
get
I
that.
think they have the strongest 3 players on the floor at any time.
For sure, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see what the post Caitlin Clark rookie card market, what happens. It's going to be a really telling year.
Yeah.
My prediction is I think you're going to see a dip back the other way.
Yeah.
And then if Juju comes back healthy, you might see it go back the other way. But I'll still, Jordan, you were kind of saying the before Caitlin Clark thing earlier. To me, it would, again, I think I said this way back in one of our early podcasts, but having Caitlin Clark rookie cards is, to me, the equivalent of us going back in time with what we know today to 1986 Fleer and those boxes being open and breaks happening in 1986 with the ability to get Michael Jordan cards. Yeah. Right. I think that it's a once in a lifetime type phenomenon. Now, what it might allow to do is have other streaky moments for
that's more what I was trying to say. Yeah,
but it'll have to be somebody who's truly transcendent as well, which is, to me, it's going to be a Juju. I just don't see, it'll be there's going to be a ton of really good, talented players. There were really great and talented players before, right?
Yeah.
All kinds of, but prior to Caitlin Clark. But at the end of the day, does somebody draw interest to make, frankly, make somebody like myself decide to watch?
Well, to your point, Tyler, is like that opened, like after Jordan came so many people, what I'm saying is, like, I just think you need that initial, right, big boom for things to continue on. And also to your point, I don't necessarily think that's Paige Becker's either. I like for
this was a weak class. This draft class was a weak draft class. And in the next couple of years, you're going to see very strong draft classes again. And you're right. I believe the market will dip on cards next year for the WNBA, and then I think it'll ramp up for the following 2 years. Because you have a lot of really good talent in the pipeline that's going to be coming in.
And hopefully they release Bowman U basketball before March Madness next year, because I think it could have just done so much better. It was a really good product, Ken. I know you felt the same way. It was a really good product, and I think
it was a really good product with terrible quality control. Like, they rushed it out. It came late, like they rushed it out, and there was a lot of issues with the cards.
Which is wild to me, because it took so long to get out, right? They released it too late. So how do you have quality control issues?
Yeah. Wow.
And with all that being said about the professional women's basketball card market, I think the college women's basketball market is going to be really strong and continue to be. Yes. Because I think, and you're going to see this across college sports, again, could be totally wrong. People in cards, I think, should like the transfer portal, because it allows hype and movement. Like, there's so many more up and there's volatility, but there's opportunity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
and with the NIL, right? It's putting these players in our living room every day, right? Whether it's commercials on TV, whether they're signing or they're doing anything, they're appearing, they're showing up. We're relating them to Nike and Adidas and to insurance commercials. I mean, with this NIL deal, we're seeing these. We have more exposure to these players.
Well, you sponsored Sarah Strong to have dinner at your house to see the Superfractor, right? Little NIL sponsorship.
Yeah. She still had her fingerprint on it. And no, that was the big kahuna.
Kind of just staying with Bowman U for a second, right? It's going to be interesting as Fanatics gets all the licenses. they have an opportunity to actually make Bowman U into an important product.
I agree.
For really the first time. Can they make Bowman U be the baseball equivalent or the Bowman draft equivalent for football and basketball?
Dude, I was thinking about this in the car today. I think it has such a huge opportunity. Yes.
Yes.
Because for anyone who doesn't know, Bowman is king in baseball. Besides the logo.
First Bowman is king.
Yes. Yeah, for the player's first Bowmans, and I think that it should matter. And I hope, Tyler, I hope that happens. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, it'll be what'll be interesting. Do they make Bowman U Chrome that equivalent of a product, right? Or do they go down the path of re-releasing a new first Bowman in a professional uniform? Time will tell, but they have an opportunity to really turn Bowman U into a massive product and grow its market share in general to a much wider audience if that truly becomes the athlete's first Bowman card in football and basketball.
Yeah,
and they don't do a first Bowman in a professional uniform.
I'd love it. I don't know about you. I think that'd be really fun.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting
because then that makes prospecting like I think that makes college football, like, as amazing as college football already is, like, I would be so much more tuned into college football.
Oh,
if that would
for sure, because you don't know when a guy is going to get a first Bowman card as a sophomore and be a fringe player, and then all of a sudden he's a first round pick. 2 years later, right? That happens in college football, especially.
Joe Burrow get his first on Ohio State, and then he just ends up at LSU scorching the earth. You know what I mean? Like,
right. And it also is an opportunity. Do they use that as a method to expand the checklist? Because I think that's probably the toughest part about like this year's Bowman U product, from everything that I've heard or read, is the checklist is just so limited that Florida won the national championship and they don't have a single player in the product.
No players, yeah. Alabama has like 7 or 8 guys.
And you've got to remember too, there's such a limited window on these things too. I know because I did the Bowman University basketball last year. I have a whole box full of cards of guys that didn't do anything. Yeah. Right. Yep. I mean, first Bowmans that the guys didn't do anything. So you end up with players who don't really do anything. And then you end up with players like right now, like Cooper Flagg, right? It's rushing as fast as you can, right? If you're grading or just to sell the cards that are coming out, right? Yeah. Because that his as soon as his with his pro jersey, after he gets drafted, his pro jersey stuff comes out, then the values are going to go down. So we circle all the way back, to be first to market with those, but to get them out and sell them as fast as you can.
But that's the unique opportunity, I think, Ken, what I'm hitting on is to change that.
Yeah.
Fanatics can do that because you don't do a lot of baseball and definitely not ripping modern baseball boxes. I'm sure Jordan has ripped a Bowman draft jumbo like I have.
I'm very aware of Bowman, yeah.
And you will rip a Bowman draft jumbo, and you will end up with 80% of the guys who might never make the majors, right? So it just becomes part of it, just where you already get that in the Bowman U boxes, but they have the opportunity to give long-term relevancy to the card and the product, where it doesn't become a first-to-market thing. Because what happens with Bowman draft in baseball often is you get it and you hold it.
Yeah, you can hold it until they debut. When they debut, you sell
it. Wait for the call up, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you stash it. You stash it, and you may have that card stashed back for years. And there are guys that's their only lane in the market is they do all the research, put in the time, and they prospect. buy up those first Bowman autos, grade them, put them in a box, and just wait for the day for the call up.
And Tyler, here's the crazy thing about all that. Is it with baseball? Minor league baseball is not anywhere close to as accessible or televised as any college basketball or football is. It's just like it feels like something that needs to happen, and it just hasn't yet. I don't know if you feel that way, but I do. I just feel like this is here.
The opportunity will be there with the one player owning all the licensing, essentially.
Yeah. And I think for women's basketball and college football, it's a better life cycle, like we're talking about with Bowman baseball, than men's college basketball, because the one and done happens all the time in men's college basketball.
Yeah, you'll get some, but the one and done it's not as prevalent as it once was.
No, I just feel like the ultra high end talent that is what it is. You know.
Yeah, but you're also going to get players like, I'll give you an example, which is crazy that he doesn't have a Bowman U, is Walter Clayton Jr. Best player in, team wins national championship, most valuable player in the Final Four, and he has no card.
Yeah. Neither did Ozzie Fudd.
Right.
Yeah. No, so we got Zeeble, Ali Zeeble. Imagine if all those autos I had were Fudd, Ken.
Yeah.
So.
Got to be fucking kidding me.
All right, let's move on to the NBA playoff picture, and I'm gonna let either of you take that.
All right, Tyler. I have the bracket pulled up here. Do you have that on your screen by chance?
I do.
Do you want to pull up that on the main screen here, and then we can kind of talk through it?
Yeah, let me try to find a better one that'll present well. Give me a second.
And if we want, I was thinking for this, what might be fun is we just go like quick gut decisions of boom, boom, boom through each one. We'll start with the West, then go to the East. I'll go first if you'd like, and then give a little spiel as why I think it's going to happen. We'll go first round, then we'll go second round, and we'll continue on. I think it'll be good. It'll be fairly quick.
Okay. Yeah. Let me present here, Ken. I think I found one that will do well. We got it zoomed in here.
All right, now.
Can you all see that?
Yep. Yes, sir. All right. So we'll start with the West play-in tournament. You want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got a Golden State and Memphis play later tonight. I think Golden State opened the game as a 6.5-point favorite. I saw yesterday. I didn't see if it moved again today. But the crazy thing is they present a nightmare matchup potentially when they fell into the play-in game when they go on a win. I assume they'll win tonight.
Yeah,
and they're going to be an awful matchup for the Rockets, and probably make the Rockets' wonderful season be short-lived.
Yep.
Later, I don't know. What about you on that game, Jordan?
Yeah. So really quick, I not to be boring with this, but I see Golden State winning, and then I see Memphis winning the 9-10. So I see Memphis going to OKC, and I see Golden State going to the Rockets.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Okay.
The Mavs could be interesting if with AD there a little bit, but I would agree with you.
Yeah, they're a big if, and I just think that the Memphis is a interesting squad too. Jaws on and going, they're pretty good. I think they'll take care of Sacramento or Dallas, but yeah, AD, if he has a game, AD could take over a game for sure.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it would be OKC and Memphis as the 1 and the 8, and then we have the Nuggets and the Clippers that we have at 4-5, then the Lakers and Timberwolves at 3-6, and then we have Rockets and Golden State at 2-7. I'll run through the West quick with what I think is going to happen. I'm going to take OKC over Memphis, the Clippers over Denver. I'm going to take the Lakers over Minnesota, and I'm going to take the Warriors over the Rockets.
Okay, well, we're on the opposite side of a lot of this. I'll take OKC over Memphis.
Yeah.
Denver over the Clippers.
Yep.
I think Minnesota gets it done against the Lakers, interesting enough. And I do like the Warriors to pass the Rockets. I just think that's a nightmare matchup for a really young Rockets team.
So I would be there with you. The Clippers are like number one on offense and defense in the last 15 games in the league, and Kawhi Leonard is back. It's a huge if. Like it's a huge if. And also Mike Malone getting fired for the Nuggets, like that's tough. So like you're gonna have Coach Jokic against Ty Lue and the Clippers. I just think the Clippers could be the out of nowhere team. But I totally get you saying the Nuggets, and I figured that may be one we disagree on. And then with the Lakers and the T-Wolves, it's just LeBron and Luke, that's a tough out in a 7-game series. Also, I want to let you know, though, I think that's like a 6 or 7 game series. It's not just like I don't think they're going to run them off the floor or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree that. I think that's it's an interesting series. Go both ways. I just kind of think that Ant-Man can get it done there because I think he's the guy who can do that in a series. The Nuggets thing, I think Malone getting fired is probably a good thing for the Nuggets, in all honesty.
Okay.
And I can't get on board with any Clippers team when all their best players are my age. They all need walkers to play basketball. So
no, again, fair enough. Like I'm not upset with or disagree with you disagreeing with me on that, right?
Yeah.
So like for me, would that 4-5 go to the 1 then?
Yeah, the 4-5 would go to the 1.
That's Clippers OKC. So the Clippers season, in my opinion, is done right then and there, right? So we have OKC beating the Clippers, and then for me, I have the Lakers beating the Warriors.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm a Celtics fan. I hate the Lakers. So but I have the Lakers beating the Warriors.
So see, I'll take. I'm on the Denver train, not just in the Clippers. I'll take Denver past OKC.
Wow. Okay.
And I'll take Golden State to the Western Conference Finals as well. And
who's in the
Denver goes to the finals.
Okay.
Yeah. I just don't see how anybody matches up with them. Matches up with Jokic the way he's playing in the year, because it so drastically changes in a 7-game series where one player can literally win the series.
Yep.
And I also I don't know, maybe I'm an OKC hater. I just think they're so overrated.
I think they just won like 68 games.
I
know it's regular season. I get it. I get it.
And I think Jokic is a terrible matchup for them in particular, but
yeah, I don't think there's anyone who matches up well against Jokic to be fair. Actually the Clippers might with Zubac.
Yeah, that is probably actually one of the better matchups.
That may be one of the best matchups for him. With that being said, I have OKC going in the finals, but with that being said, I think it's 7 games against the Lakers. And I think it's a Luka Shea showdown, and LeBron's playing second fiddle at that point.
Gotcha.
So I got OKC. You have Denver.
Yep.
All right. So let's run through the East quick. 7-8 is.
It's already over. The Magic are up at 15 right now already.
Okay. So we can slide the Magic into the 7th seed, and then it's the Hawks that plays against the Bulls or the Heat. I really weak take here. I think the Heat are checked out. I think the Bulls win in a game no one cares about, and then the Hawks beat the Bulls. Is that a bad take?
I think the Bulls beat the Heat, and I actually think the Bulls beat the Hawks.
Okay. See, and this is something that I'm sure you're probably going to agree with me. And it's all for naught because the Cavs beat either one, right? Like
100%.
Yeah. So, Celtics fan, hate the Magic matchup for them because I really do. The Celtics are going to win, I think, but like the Magic are big bodied and have given them fits in the past. Like last season, I think they beat them. The Magic beat them like 3 or 4 times. So I hate playing the Magic, but I think the Celtics will win. Just it's
I would agree there.
Okay. So then Pacers Bucks at 4 and 5, I think is a really good series.
I'll say this: Pacers in 5. No Dame Lillard.
No, it's that same thing of the best guy in a series, right? Like it's the same. That's for me, right? Is Giannis, and who can take over a series better than that guy? It's
What's interesting, you say your comment about the Clippers being the sneaky team.
Yeah,
I think the Pacers are the sneaky team for me in the East.
Yeah,
and the
fair.
Pacers get all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals.
They did it last year.
Yeah, I think we go back.
Same Eastern Conference Finals for you.
I think their roster is very solid, top to bottom, and Cleveland is a bit of a wild card as the 1 seed. So I see Indy getting through all the way there.
Yeah, Cleveland seems like just a regular season team to me. I hate to say it. You know what though? I was on the fence there. You talked me into. I'll go with Pacers too, but I will. But if Giannis does Giannis, I won't be surprised. And then Knicks Pistons. I'm taking the Pistons. Call me crazy.
I don't think you're crazy. I think it goes 7 games. I think the Knicks win, but I think the Pistons give them all kinds of problems.
I think we see a Cade Cunningham ascension.
Well, so just because I had a conversation with somebody earlier this week about this. Pistons went 3-1 against the Knicks in the regular season. Cade averaged about 34 a game.
Yeah.
So I do think it goes 7 games. I think the Knicks roster is just too good and gets it done.
Maybe Beef Stew punches Cat in the face or something, gets a little chippy.
True. And then, obviously, I know you're going to pick the Celtics over your Magic.
Yeah. But what's funny is I think the Pistons are a tough matchup for them too.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the Celtics going to the Eastern Conference Finals with you. We'll skip ahead, right? So me and you both have the Pacers and the. Actually, no, I'm going to take the Cavs. I'm taking the Cavs over the Pacers. I for my Celtics, I hope you're right. I hope we get the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't think the Cavs will lose to the Pacers. Yeah, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think your Celtics win the first round, and I'm going to take the New York Knicks over your Celtics to get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And the wild thing is, as much as I say it goes 7 games for the Knicks, I think the Knicks get to the finals.
So Knicks and Nuggets.
Knicks and Nuggets.
All right. I can't wait to hear the comments on this one. So I
got Knicks in Minnesota here, so
Jesus Christ. Okay.
I got no explanation why.
And I have the Celtics and OKC in the finals, and I have the Celtics winning in 6, and I don't do that as a homer pick. I do that as looking back to this finals for me of OKC and Boston. I see it as the 2022 finals of Boston and Golden State, when one team was not ready yet and the other team had been there. And that's my rationale for it.
Listen, if I'm going to go bet it, I'm going to bet it a little differently than I'm going to kind of predict this. Like the Celtics are the bet to get to the Eastern Conference or to get to the finals out of the East.
Yeah. But provoking your podcast mate is always fun.
Well, that too, but there's also there's just something interesting to me about the Knicks roster and the way that they've structured that roster. I think they give the Celtics a really screwy matchup, and beyond that, I think the East is fairly weak. That's why I think the Pacers roll through the top half of it, because they're just playing as good as anybody in the East is playing right now. So the East is just such a wild card for me. I could see something funny happening, and listen, at the end of the day, it's hard for the Celtics to get back to the finals another year. It is really hard to get to the finals that many times in a short period of time.
It's going to depend on, I think for the Celtics, it's just health. I think if their guys stay healthy, I don't see them losing. But because like as a Celtics fan, I view the Knicks as like the annoying little brother, like that that really can't beat you, but you know you let them score a few times. Like, and I don't mean that. I truly feel that way. I truly feel that way. I don't think they have what it takes to beat the Celtics when it matters, let alone like when it doesn't matter. So I actually think the Pistons will beat them. Like I said, I think the Pistons will beat the Knicks, and I'm more worried about the Pistons than the Knicks.
Yeah, I think I guess for me that Celtics.
Do you have any betting like lines up? I'm curious to see like these first round odds, like that. For example, the Pacers Bucks. I wonder like what that is as a pick 'em, like just to win to move on. That'd be that, and then the Knicks Pistons. I'm curious.
Let me look.
Same with the. I bet the Nuggets Clippers is interesting.
Let's see if I can.
And also this aside from just us making predictions card wise, this is I think now may be the time for you to tell your Anthony Edwards story, Tyler.
Oh yeah, so
I think there's not a time better fitting, right?
So yes, from a hobby perspective, to now is where you're going to make all your money in the NBA market. After the first series is where you will really have an opportunity. If you've got a player who is going to get to the second round, it's your opportunity to make money. And the example I'm going to use is last year. All during this time of the year, I had multiple copies of Anthony Edwards's Optic Fast Break Purple, which crap, I'm trying to remember, was it numbered out of not 90 or 99 or whatever it was, and a PSA 10. It's like a Pop 17, and at one point I owned like 7 or 8 of these copies last year, and I had them in a case. Had a comp around $500 and $550, and I had them in a case, had them marked it at right at the comp number or a little over the comp number forever. And everybody just would tell me how no chance I could get that number out of that card. And I said, it's a playoff card, guys, and just this is the number. I won't go under it. And we're setting up. Ken was there at Northeast in Stanford last year. Nuggets were about to play Minnesota, first game of their series. And I had a guy walk up and ask me about those cards, and I gave him the number. And I even actually said, if you take 2 of them, I will give them to you for $500 a piece. I was willing to move them for basically what I had paid for them.
Yep.
Just to have less copies of it. And he's like, no chance, no way. And that night, Ant-Man goes nuts. They beat the Nuggets in the first game of the series. That card comps again that Saturday night after the game for roughly close to almost $1,000. Same guy comes back with me next morning, ready to buy him at my sticker, and I'm like, no, the price is a new price now, and I sold him for basically just under the new price. So, if you've been patient with NBA cards and you've done your work there, today is the beginning of where you can make your money in the NBA. You've got a good 6-week window here. Pick and choose your places, and I would say if you're confident with somebody's ability to show out in the playoffs, stay firm in your pricing there, because now is your opportunity to actually hit the number if you're going to get it at all. So that's kind of where I would say there. And I think it's going to be a very interesting playoffs. I think it's probably the least predictable we've had in a while.
It's just the West and the East are so opposite. Like the West is like crazy. Every first round matchup maybe besides OKC and Memphis, you could see going either way.
But even Memphis, you could see him giving OKC all kinds of hell because you're talking the fastest team in the league in Memphis from a scoring perspective, and if good Ja Morant shows up, it's a problem. So, that I'm not saying Memphis could beat them. I'm just saying Memphis could make it very interesting and take that to 6 games or something like that.
They could give him trouble, but yeah, I other than that, yeah, like I meant like every other series besides that, either team could win it. Like I feel that way, but yeah, Memphis could give him trouble. I don't see how they could beat him, but hey.
No, I don't think they can beat him, but I think the best analogy there is if you put Memphis in the East, Memphis is a team that could get to the finals in the East.
Agreed.
If they got hot.
Agreed.
Right? So that just goes to show you the caliber in the West. I think but
yeah.
So I should do well with my jaw card. My jaw card should be getting ready to ramp it up and sell it.
If they get into the OKC game and he goes nuts in one playoff game, have that thing ready on eBay.
With that being said, though, if the Grizzlies do beat the Warriors in the one game,
it's a good time.
They could give the Rockets a run for their money. I think
they could beat the Rockets.
That's what I mean. And if they beat the Rockets, Ken, that's probably the best time you're gonna have.
OKC's worst nightmare is Memphis beats Golden State tonight.
Agreed. Because I don't know who I would take. I'd probably take OKC, but it wouldn't be like I wouldn't feel good about it.
It'll be one of the rare times if Memphis were to beat Golden State tonight, then Golden State somehow ends up as the 8th seed. It'll be one of the only times you will ever see a number 1 seed not favored in Game 3.
Oh, at home
because Golden State at home will be favored.
Yeah, and I forget the numbers exactly. They've been incredible though since the Butler acquisition. They've been incredible.
Yeah, they struggled the last week, which is what fell down. But they have been very good since Jimmy Butler's been in town. That's the worst thing that can ever happen to OKC is Memphis somehow beats Golden State tonight.
I know, and just in my mind, I just went back to that long Curry 3 in OKC. Off the backboard, like around half court. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I kind of hope that happens now, to be honest with you.
It'll make it'd be amazing TV in the first round.
I'm excited for the playoffs. I really am. I can't wait to watch. Yeah. But okay, cool. I feel like that was good to touch upon that. So hopefully if people are still here as we chat about the NBA. Yeah.
So who did you guys have winning it all?
Celtics, and I am not saying that as a homer pick.
All right. And Tyler?
Give me the Nuggets
over the Knicks, right?
Over the Knicks.
Yeah.
Listen, Jalen Brunson cat against your Celtics is a problem.
For the Knicks, I agree. It's terrible. It's a problem.
It's fine. Well, if the Knicks Celtics get there, we'll make a friendly wager on it.
That's fine. Round of golf. That's the pod wagers. Round of golf.
Back to a round of golf. All right, and I got Minnesota winning it all.
Anthony Edwards fan here. He owns a rookie card.
Yep, I got his rookie card, and I'm rooting for him. That's how it goes, right? That's how it works.
Yep.
I guess so.
No. So, all right, so let's talk a little PSA right now.
All right.
We have a change in the bulk time frame, the return. They've extended that, and now when we're looking at the timing, if we submit something now, it's likely we won't have it back for the national. Mm-hmm. So do we go to do we start going to getting out of the bulk and going to the higher paying up to get cards back faster, or do we send them out and just sit back and hope for the best?
Yeah, I think it's super interesting, right? Because a lot of what's typically you fly through and get whatever number you want out of it at the national are a lot of cards you would send through bulk, right? They're very common. Everybody's got them, but they get the NFL offseason hype and they go. And the moment you have to go outside of bulk just to get them back for the year's premier card show, you're cutting into that margin, and there may not be a ton of margin on that type of card because it's, just not that expensive of a card.
Yeah. And you remember too. So, and here's a key thing. We're talking about the national, which is at the very end of July, right? The very end of July. So a lot of people who are setting up there are trying to buy, getting ready to go to the national. So, for those of us who don't have a table out there or a booth, right? A good selling time is those 3 weeks before the national. And if we're not going to have those cars to sell then, right?
Yeah, and I think one thing that's important with the PSA announcement, they changed the turnaround time to 65 days, right? Well, that timer doesn't start until it goes into what's the phase?
Research and ID.
Research and ID, right?
And also it's 65 business days, right?
Yeah, 65 business days. So it makes it even, every bit of 4 months.
Yeah.
To get your bulk orders back.
So I've had orders that arrived there in February, and 2 of them just went to research and ID, and it shows arrived April 10th, right? That's the arrival date. It shows. So now they're basing that 65 business days off of April 10th, not February when that package arrived in their facility.
Yeah.
So I think there's 2 things that you can do. You can understand that your cards are not coming back for national and then decide what you're sending out accordingly for that time frame. Or, and this happened a lot in COVID when the cheapest level was $50 a card, you have to play the risk reward game of sending that card out at $40 to get it back in 20 business days. Now, what that card exactly is not for me to say. Because each person is different, right? Like you could send out.
Tell me what you're absolutely right. As soon as you said that, I know in my mind what cards I would send at a higher level. What are your cards? What cards are you going to send at a higher level?
So I haven't done it yet. I personally haven't come across that type of card yet, but it would probably be just like with the stuff that's coming out now. Like if I have any of the top QBs in an optic hollow or better, and I'm really confident it would gem, I'd also for me, it's not going to matter that much, because I'm not going to the national, so I would probably still send these out at bulk. But if my goal was to get it back before the national, because that's going to apply to so many people, I would look at those cards at the $40 level. Those are better. Hollows are better. And I bet you there's some cheeky grading people here that would grade lesser versions of that. If you can gem the base optics at $40, that's where it becomes do or die, though. Because if you can gem them, you can still probably make a little bit of money, but it's just way more risk. So I wouldn't. But for me, it'd probably be hollow or better.
I'm not sending base cards. I'm not going to send base cards in at 40 or whatever. I don't even know if I'm sending base cards into the, on a bulk submission, right? To me, they have to be a level above base cards. There's got to be something about them. But in my mind, what am I sending at a $40 thing? I would say Caitlin Clark, right? Higher end Caitlin Clark cards I would send out because the return on those are always so much higher. Even if they come back 9s, right? You're still getting your money out of it. I don't know unless I hit a card and a big card in a break, or I get lucky and pull something exceptional out of a box. I'm going to put that in bulk and hope to have it back in August and sell it in at Burbank or Fanatics, or not Fanatics, but
Also, what's important though is at that $40 service level, it's still a max of a $500 declared value of the card, and you're gonna get upcharged if not. So whatever that's worth, you know what I mean? I know you said you hit a big card. I just assume a big card is definitely over 500 in a PSA 10, right?
But remember, it's also 10 or 20 days from when it goes to research and ID as well. I mean, it used to be when I took a card and I sent it in and it was 10 days. I mean, as soon as they received it, within a day or two, it was in research and ID and then right off to grading. I have an order that I sent out that got there in March, and it was a 10-day order, and it just went to research and ID yesterday. So it was supposed to be 10 business days, but when I look at it, it says it arrived yesterday.
So 10 business days, that's regular at the $75 level. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, let me see. I had research and ID 327, and then it was completed by April 1st on regular, which is like 5 days.
March 27th to April 1st. That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I feel like this may come back to who it's coming from. I think that's real. And I think using a group submitter, I'm not going to go into depth on it, but from everything I hear, on average, my stuff gets turned around quicker on average. There's definitely times it hasn't been, but I just hear horror stories from people who are sending themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think mine's pretty easy. It's always a rule of thumb for me. It's got to have a $300 raw value, or I don't grade it. So this is really not as big an issue for me because I don't really use bulk. What it might make me do is instead of sending it myself, I might go the group submitter route.
Yeah.
That's probably where this will push me to, just because I, think I'll get better time. Truly, will get better turnaround times. And then I think from if you're listening to this and you're thinking about what to send and whether to go up to that next level or not, Jordan mentioned an optic hollow. I think that's fine if you pull the optic hollow. But if you bought the optic hollow, you cannot grade it at $40 level, because you're going to, I'll just use, because it's data that was there last year. When optic dropped, CJ Stroud optic hollows come out. They're selling raw for $175 to $200 raw. If I took that card and put $40 into grading it, if it 10'd, I'm okay. If it 9'd, I'm under immediately. Zero chance. I'm the entire grading fee under.
Yeah, it's spot on. Jaden Daniels hollow just did 175.
Right. So take that card, and in a PSA 10, it's probably going to do 350, 400. Once it's past the first couple to market, it'll do 350, 400 pretty consistently for a while. And yeah, if you 10, you're okay. If you bought that card at 175 and you're in it for $40, let's call it $50 total.
It's a big if, though. It's a big if. Yeah.
I'm in the card for $225 by the time I grade it and buy it at that 175 number. It's got a 10 for me to make anything.
Yep.
I'm hugely under. Now, if I pull it, it doesn't matter. Great. If I pull it, pay $50 and get it in all day. But that's just kind of where I think that's where you have to become really smart with what you're grading with stuff like this going on.
And to even more of a point with that, for me, if I'm not going to national, I'm probably just putting it in bulk, because in August the card's going to sell completely fine. For me, you could miss out a little, a bit, like you're saying, but just especially if you're not confident about 9 or 10, if it's if it's in the middle, I'm not even.
You can't tell that, though. I've got cards that I think are 10s, and I send them in, and I had one come back an 8.
I think this. I think the message that PSA is sending with this is, folks, hobby, you're overgrading. And this is their pushback to, I hate to say it, even though they make money from it.
Yeah, they're making a killing.
I think they are trying to slow down some of the grading of just the very common stuff. And because for them to keep them, if that keeps growing, for them to keep up, I don't think they can make enough money to staff it. That's where the problem, that they are making enough money if everybody they're making a killing if everybody accepts the turnaround times, but to get it down to what they have stated as their goal, which is they want every level to be at a 30-day turnaround at some point. That's their stated goal in several public forums since the beginning of this year.
Yep.
And they can't do that with the volume they're getting without a major staffing up, which is, we all know, which is training more graders. And training is already a problem for them because we're seeing it in the way certain cards are graded. So they just can't get the human capital there to meet the demand.
But do you think that they're saying too, we're not gemming everything? Let them, if they think it should have gemmed, let them crack it and send it back. We'll charge twice to grade the same card, or 3 times to grade the same card.
I mean,
I would
really know it's happening. I think they would prefer that it not happen, which is why they're keeping better records on cards that have serial numbers, etc., so that they won't grade it. Because there's plenty of examples that are out there in the public now where they've denied grading the same card the second or third time, because it crushes their credibility if they continue to do that. So they don't want to do that regardless of the money, because they run the risk of putting the whole business in jeopardy because nobody trusts them, and there might be a market shift at some point. That may take a while, but that is a risk in doing something like that. But I really think what this comes down to is, with the overgrading and the volume, they've looked at this and they've said, I cannot have enough people in the building to grade the way we want to grade cards and hit a 30-day turnaround. So we're going to put this out there at 65 days. And if you want to wait that long, submit at this level.
It'd be like having 50 employees at McDonald's. Right? Like that's the same concept here, is that the cost to have all these salaried employees is just not going to make sense for them at some point to meet the need that they have. Or God forbid they have to open up another like factory or whatever to building to do all this grading and all that on top of it. So right. I hear you, Tyler.
Comes back to the training. I think that they can get the people, but it's getting those people up to speed to execute the task, because it clearly takes time to get somebody trained to grade, and that's why they have some of the problems where, Ken, you get the card back, you crack it and ship it right back in, it gets a better grade, right? It's a different person looking at it, and they want to stop that and create better consistency. That's one of their other stated goals, and I really do think this is their play. Now, where I think the opportunity becomes, if somebody at Beckett could figure out how to run a damn company, as Jordan would say,
yep.
Here's your time. Go pounce, jump back in, and see if you can take a bite back and pull some market share back your way. There's opportunity there. And listen, to be honest with you, if I've got a big card right now with these delayed timelines, and I'm close, if it's a 9 or a 10, I'm gonna ship it to Beckett and get a 9.5.
What do you mean by big card though? Because the only impact, you're saying timelines, like, hold up, the only impact the timelines is bulk.
No, yeah, but I think what Ken's saying is, like, even his for example, is they're so backed up that it's 10 days from the moment it gets to research and ID. But Ken, that 10-day order, you shipped it in how many days before it went to research and ID? A month?
Yeah, or within a couple weeks, anyways. Yeah.
Right. So his 10-day order became a 30-day order or 24-day order. If I've got a huge, like, if it's tight, like if I'm at the end of June and I'm going to national, I get my hands on a Jaden Daniels raw gold kaboom. Just use a really big card as an example. I'm gonna probably throw it to Beckett and get a 9.5 if I think it's gradable. Because in that kind of rare card, you're still going to get the premium.
Yeah, and let whoever buys it, if they want it in a PSA, to crack it and
buy it from me at National and walk it right over to PSA and cross it, or I'll grade it with Beckett, see it get a 9.5. I'll walk to National.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that's a different
myself.
That was the different play. I was gonna say, I was like, well, if I'm going to PSA, I'm probably just gonna send that in there. I mean, if I'm going to National, yeah.
Yeah, or sure. What I want to say is I'll get it graded, see what offers I get, make sure it's good. Like if it comes back a Beckett 9.5, quad 9.5s, at that point I might walk it over to PSA and say, hey, will you all cross this? Because they might cross it at that point.
Good.
So I mean, it's opening up the market for different strategies, in my opinion. And if you just, I guess where I think about this a little deeper before we get off this topic and move to the questions, but I've started to see more guys like Roth send big cards to Beckett. And they're doing it for this type of reason.
I always thought for him that was because like he made so much progress at Dallas and Dallas had Beckett there. But yeah, I guess you're right. It's probably
you don't pay a premium on like you do.
You don't pay a premium with Beckett, and the fact is he's, especially if he thinks it's close, like it's not if he thinks it could 9. Beckett, listen, right now everybody will tell you Beckett feels like they're grading soft, like they're getting out a lot of 9.5s. It's not that tough.
Trying to get people to come back.
They're trying to get people to come back. I think that's not a hidden secret in the market right now. And I get that premium over the 9.5 versus the 9 in a big card. So, it's something to think about. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think this is PSA really trying to say, folks, pump the brakes, stop sending me 15 darn base cards.
We don't want your money.
Right. Like, because at that point, send me 15, that $150 order just doesn't, it doesn't do me anything.
Yeah.
So.
And, I just got an order back today, 42 cards, and I know what it cost. It was like, I don't know, $800 and something was the total cost of the order, plus what it cost me, the $12 or $13 to ship it to them. Now I get it back and I sit down and I break down all the values of the cards. And I say to myself, okay, did I do well? Did I not do well? I know my profit and loss right there. And quite frankly, the longer you're waiting for cards to come back, the more the value is going down on those cards. Especially I had a handful of Don Russ cards in there that, when those cards did go to PSA, some of them were selling at the 150, 175, now they're back and they're selling at 75 and 65 and 68, so, when I sent them out, it made sense, when I calculated what it was going to cost to send it. But if I've got to wait 65 business days, I'm rethinking everything about sending those cards, of what cards are going to be dropping in value. And is it really going to make sense to send those cards and be waiting that long for them?
Yeah. And if you're think about your 42 card order there at $800 and some, right? There's no major premium cards in there. How long it takes somebody to grade 42 cards for them to get moved over and slabbed up. Mm-hmm. There's not as much margin in that as you think there is for PSA.
Yeah.
Because it takes a long time to grade 42 cards. It's not a hyper efficient process.
Well, my 3 cards have been in the grading process since last Thursday or Friday. So that's only 3 cards. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to questions. What do we got, Jordan?
Honestly, after after talking about that in as much depth as we did, I think we have one question for
Okay.
because Greg Yazzo asked a question about bulk price service and looking at other options, and I feel like we kind of, I mean,
covered
we
that.
could touch on
Covered that.
options. I mean, he discussed SGC. I personally, I wouldn't be doing that. I'd probably do Beckett too, Tyler, even though I probably
SGC is a month.
wouldn't.
SG, I don't care. It's not
Yeah.
5 or 10 days. It's a month. I just had 2 orders to go to SGC, and both of them took a month before I got the cards back.
Yeah,
Well,
and
I think SGC put out an announcement right with the PSA announcement that they are experiencing the same backlog and their times are now longer.
Yep. And SGC just does not get the respect right now, as I think you would probably, and I think Roth is right, I think you would probably get more respect out of a BGS slab than you would out of SGC.
I agree.
For sure.
As someone who would be like, if I was like to buy a lot of cards, I would be fine buying a Beckett card compared to SGC card. I don't know about you guys.
Be honest, I will not buy an SGC card. I'll buy a Beckett slab.
It's just so difficult. I'll buy an SGC if it's like an 8, so I can just take a butter knife to it and crack it out.
Yep.
But yeah, so last question, which I'm kind of happy that we can discuss a little bit more because I know we touched on it sort of at the beginning. From K&K_sports cards on Instagram. Can you explain the significance / value in the Bowman baseball hierarchy? Tyler, I'm sure you'll probably give a better answer than me, but I feel like in terms of significance, it's obviously the first Bowman. When I say first, for anyone that doesn't know, rather than like a rookie card logo, it's literally a 1ST first, and that's on the card signifying their first card that's released. And when it comes to the significance and kind of what I hope gets back to for basketball and football, I don't know if Tyler will agree or disagree with me on this. There are true colors that matter in Bowman. And in this Bowman U, they have like stealth and all this made up mumbo jumbo. Like, it's just like, great. Why do I need a green reptilian? Like, that's a real parallel in Bowman. Like, why are we bringing reptiles? And it's not like a case hit animal print thing, which anyways, Bowman baseball, there's the true colors. There's the superfractor, there's the true red, there's the true orange, there's the true gold, and then there's the true blue, and their true refractor, which is numbered out of 499 typically. And what's really nice about these products is you can track all their prices because, for example, usually orange is going to be out of 25 and gold is going to be out of 50. If there is an orange shimmer that sells, usually that's going to be equivalent to what the true gold sells for, which is nice because you can just like there's these like sub prices and sub parallels that you can equate to other numbers, and they match up pretty nice, which for all of us that are buying and selling cards, it usually just provides more data. And also like there'll be greens out of 99 that aren't considered like the original true colors, and a lot of times the true blues will be more desirable and maybe even sell more than the true greens. But it's just I think at least Bowman baseball hierarchy, a big part of it is those true colors and the first. Obviously, that's kind of what I would say about it. How about you, Tyler?
Yeah. The first obviously is the key, right? But then the true colors is what matters. I mean, I will say the one thing, if you just ignore, if you're thinking about the refractors and Bowman Chrome, if you ignore the shimmers, even even like the speckle, the purple, the fuchsia, the green, yellow, and orange, they get proper respect because they are the true original color set. And then you get into the subs with the shimmers, but Jordan touched on all the key ones, right? It's the superfractor, the red refractor, the gold refractor, and the true blue, right? And then the base refractor 499. Those are kind of like the 5 core refractors. Like if you're trying to build a smaller version of a set or something like that, or if you really want the stuff that holds true long-term value, those are the ones that I would really focus on. Because oftentimes a gold out of 50 will sell for the same amount as the orange out of 25, if not even more in some autos in some scenarios.
Yep.
And the cool thing about Bowman Chrome in the baseball world is, and Topps fixed their mistake this year, but the Topps Chrome True Color refractors follow the alignment.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, right? You can collect, Bobby Witt's first Bowman True Blue Auto to 150, and if you want his Topps Chrome Rookie Auto to 150, it's also True Blue.
Yeah.
So you can really, there's a lot of synergy between the products, and I think that's really what drives the core collector market still in modern baseball.
Absolutely. And one thing that they're seeming to do across all products is, so like we obviously know for Panini the big thing was gold out of 10, true gold, obviously Prism, but like across all products it seemed true gold out of 10 seemed to be
Right.
this big thing. And it seems that Fanatics is trying to do that with the black refractor out of 10, which I'm actually a fan of. I'm cool with that going forward. I think they're trying to encompass that chase, that out of 10, which is a good round number. I'm here for it, so, but yeah.
Well, and Topps products typically, or Fanatics products, have had black refractors in the past, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily out of 10, but
Right.
The black refractor is not a uncommon thing to occur, and so they're just giving it an out of 10. So I'm there. I like that. It'll be fun when Fanatics has the hobby or the licensing, and we see some of this carry into football and basketball. I'm also excited to chase those true parallels in like Topps Chrome football in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but Ken, do you have anything to add on to that for the? I know that's not necessarily
it's not really so much for the hierarchy, but I just think and when I jumped back into the hobby, I started with Bowman baseball. Like I started ripping baseball, believe it or not. And one of the things I always liked about their product, and one of the things that I really like about the Bowman U stuff, is that the boxes are loaded, even down to the blasters and the mega boxes. And there's so many things in there that you could get. And as someone who rips a lot of product, there's nothing worse than just opening pack after pack and going through all these base cards and being like, nothing in here, where in those packs you're opening them and there's something, there's inserts, there's in every pack, there's something in there that made that pack worthwhile. So, I think if nothing else, it's definitely a solid rip.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what's nice about Bowman too, is like, I feel like a lot of other sports, if you rip it, you lost or you won. Like for a lot of people who, if they rip something and they're okay with holding stuff for a while, you could be sitting on something really nice that you have no idea, which I feel like is not too common for a lot of products.
No.
Well,
I mean, for the football, it's, you're
Right.
ripping right through, if there's very few Brock Purdy years, right? That you don't know.
And he even came about before his rookie year was over too.
Yeah.
But you're right. But even to that is like, it was still,
Yep.
Yeah. I think I will echo that before we close up, but that's with Fanatics products in general. If I'm going to rip a retail box, it's probably going to be a retail baseball box way before any Panini retail, because we had a hell of a lot of fun ripping Topps Chrome Update megas last year. I could rip an entire mega and I'd pull 2 or 3 numbered refractors in certain mega boxes, right? I pulled plenty of autos, numbered refractor autos. I pulled a black refractor out of 10 out of a mega. So yeah.
Good.
Yeah, dude. And that's I know, like we just talked about like the backlog of grading and stuff, but like that's another product that's really like you could hobby full circle, like those like retail Bowman or Topps Chrome megas. Like you hit like some of the better names, even like the X Factors that are in there,
Yeah.
send them off, and you'll make really good money. Like this.
And you don't care if it takes 3 or 4 months.
Right.
for it to come back.
No. Like
Yeah.
for example, like I was just buying people's. I mean, geez, even the skeins like X Factors were like $25-$30, and in a 10 they're like 150 plus. And it's just like, just buy a ton of them. Imagine if you rip some of them, and then you have that. This last class was loaded, and I mean that wasn't even the Bowman. One thing I will say though, Bowman Megas are fantastic, and they usually like are loaded with autos in the Megas too.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, a guy we set up the shows with. I mean, he pulled last year out of a Bowman Mega. He pulled a James Wood Superfractor.
jeez,
So
yeah,
out of a Mega.
but yeah, that's kind of the only question I feel that's worth touching on right now.
All right. Well, good. I you know what? We're going to end shorter than an hour and a half tonight.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Anything else to add before we finish?
Enjoy
Nothing
the
for me.
playoffs.
Oh yeah, yes, enjoy the playoffs, and then so what is it? Knicks, so let's just get this I guess on tape real quick. Knicks and Celtics for the golf. So what happens if like the Celtics lose first round or the Knicks lose first round? Is me or you win? Or do you want
if they play each other in the playoffs?
They got to play because I really like this bet even more if it's the Knicks going to beat the Pistons too. I'm taking this all day if that's the case.
Yeah, no, if they play, which most likely they are going to play, then we'll bet a round of golf on it.
Deal.
Of course, to be determined.
Of course to be determined. Probably Lyman, but yeah, of course to be determined. That's fine.
All right, fellas. Another great episode.
Alrighty.
Want to thank everyone for tuning in. And fellas, I will see you guys next week. Have a good night.
Thanks, Ken.
Yep.